YouTube, this is the Phoenix Exalt bringing you the first episode of my new series, Power Ranking. The format for this episode and all to come after it is simple. I will analyze the physicality, martial arts, and force abilities of the combatant, and assign them a ranking. At the end of the video, I will give my ranking of the combatant on the whole, along with several characters I believe to be on a similar level to the given character. Additionally, I will be using the tier system explained in a previous video as the primary basis for my power rating of each category before averaging the martial arts and force abilities section to form a definitive tier ranking. For this video, I will be analyzing Darth Vader during the time frame of Return of the Jedi. I will be pulling from Legends continuity along with any canon materials that do not directly interfere with previously made Legends materials. And, as always, I own none of the characters, art, music, or other media depicted in this video, and all rights to them go to their respective companies. With that out of the way, I present to you Power Ranking, Darth Vader. Darth Vader's extensive cybernetic refit left him more machine than man. Most of his internal organs were replaced by cybernetic implants, all of his limbs were prosthetic, and he required a respirator to breathe. Due to the severity of his injuries, the reconstruction was rushed, resulting in the cybernetics being both cumbersome and poorly made. The cybernetics decreased his agility, and the top-heavy nature of his armor threw off his balance. However, Vader quickly adapted to his new body, completely retooling his fighting technique to make all of his disabilities overwhelming advantages. Vader's strength was superhuman, being able to lift and throw a fully grown human with casual ease, and even being able to punch through solid steel with apparently little effort. Additionally, the constant dose of painkillers and other drugs gave him almost unlimited endurance, allowing him to fight in high-intensity lightsaber duels for hours on end without noticeable difficulty. The armor also protected him from injury and other forms of attack. However, Vader's armor was not without its limitations. Significant blunt force trauma could cause the armor plating to shatter, and a committed lightsaber strike would cut through it as easily as anything else. Additionally, Vader's suit was extremely sensitive to electrical discharges. Low-level bursts could cause the armor to seize up, and high-intensity maelstroms could cause the systems to fail outright. While redundant systems built into the armor allowed him to breathe unassisted for a short amount of time, once they failed, he suffocated. I consider Darth Vader to be at approximately tier 1.5 in terms of physical attributes. Darth Vader is nothing short of superhuman in terms of physical might and durability. His feats of strength, survivability, and endurance have far surpassed any non-forceful human and even many non-humans. However, his speed and agility left something to be desired, and Vader's main weakness in the form of his breathing apparatus is not to be ignored. Considering the fact that high-caliber lightning could instantly fry it, Vader was at a major disadvantage against almost every Sith he could encounter, and even several Jedi who knew the art. Additionally, while never shown, it is possible that some other method of the Force could disable key components of his life support systems and render him with only minutes to live. Therefore, despite Vader's extreme physical hardiness and might, he is downgraded half a tier, rather being at the top of the pack in terms of physical capability. Anakin Skywalker was a natural talent, with the lightsaber becoming the reigning master of the Gem-So for his era, proving his mastery by defeating the fallen Jedi turned Sith Lord Count Dooku, who was noted for being the finest duelist in the history of the Jedi Order. With his fall to the dark side and defection to the Sith, these skills would be turned against his former comrades, becoming possibly the greatest Jedi killer in galactic history. Form 5 was developed to answer the perceived weakness of a lack of offense from Form 3, and was built around the tactic of following defensive maneuvers with immediate counters. The Xi'an variant was geared towards aim deflection, and Gem-So towards lightsaber dueling. Anakin Skywalker mastered both, and this skill would transfer to Vader. Learning from his mistakes on Mustafar, Vader did not become a grossly over-specialized Form 5 combatant like Anakin was, and instead incorporated elements from all 7 forms into his technique. Using the gem so as the backbone for a highly advanced hybrid fighting style, Vader's technique was also built around defending his vulnerable respirator. He would refine his footwork in order to increase mobility, but also turned his immobility into an asset, leveraging his strength where applicable. Vader also became so adept with discerning lightsaber forms that he no longer relied on familiarity with forms and simply knew each and every move one could use with a form and could recognize and size up an opponent in a moment's instance. Vader primarily developed this skill due to the fact that most Jedi were completely slaves to their preferred fighting forms. Thus, any form, even a combination of them, became a predictable one. Though this reliance on sussing out his opponent's technique gave Vader a massive advantage against almost all adversaries, this left a disadvantage against duelists who had a highly randomized fighting style, with only consistency being the lack of it. This is why duelists such as Exar Kun stand a better chance against Vader than most other swordsmen in the galaxy. I award Darth Vader a Tier 1 ranking in terms of lightsaber combat. Darth Vader has shown advanced mastery from his time as Anakin Skywalker. However, his transformation into Vader, he began to develop a skill set that was both diverse and extremely intelligent. By showing the ability to recognize and adapt to the opponent's styles while keeping his own options varied, he was displaying what I perceive to be complete mastery of lightsaber dueling. While it is true that Vader's weakness could get him killed, the number of duelists that could actually take advantage of him on that level is painfully small. Additionally, I would challenge anyone to find a duelist in the Star Wars universe that does not have any weaknesses whatsoever. In conclusion, Darth Vader holds a complete mastery over lightsaber combat who can give any swordsman in the galaxy a run for their money, and due to this, he is a true Tier 1 in my book. Anakin Skywalker had the potential to become the most powerful Force wielder in galactic history. However, due to his injuries on Mustafar, this never occurred. Despite this, Vader made what he had work to become one of the most powerful Force wielders of his era. Vader's application of physical augmentation was mainly focused on compensating for the deficiency of his armor, elevating his speed and agility to make him more mobile, and on more than one occasion has been described as moving faster than the eye could perceive. Darth Vader was an expert at telekinesis, using this power frequently with little to no effort. He would use pushes and pulls to manhandle targets, and would also be a master of the saber throw, telekinetically moving his lightsaber to hit one or multiple targets with ease, along with using loose objects to pummel his adversaries into submission. Vader also mastered the Force Repulse ability, gathering the Force within himself and releasing it in all directions. With grand-scale manipulations, he has been observed lifting and crushing AT-AT walkers with telekinesis, destroying armies with devastating force waves, and has even forced two large freighters to collide with one another mid-flight. One of Vader's best-known usages of the Force was strangulation, crushing the throats of one or multiple targets, and on one occasion crushing the heart of a Jedi. Though a clear emphasis was placed on brute force, Vader was adept at using precision-based manipulations to undermine his adversaries and assert his control. He is penetrating the force barriers of opposing Force wielders, with his own barriers proven to be effective against all but the most powerful of assailants. Vader was also a highly skilled telepath, performing the basic mind trick and beast control ability. He has even probed the minds of other trained Force wielders who knew that he was doing so. While under the influence of extreme rage, Vader was capable of surviving otherwise fatal injuries, essentially willing himself to continue living. Vader was unable to conjure Force Lightning, though was adept at the Tutaminis ability, being able to deflect blaster bolts with ease, though Force Lightning was beyond his reach for obvious reasons. While Vader did not possess a huge bag of abilities to use in combat, the abilities he did at his disposal were absolutely devastating. I award Darth Vader a low Tier 1 ranking in terms of his Force abilities. His magnitude and power alone easily bring him to the Tier 1 ranking on par with the greats of both the Jedi and Sith orders. However, Vader is not a high Tier 1 for two reasons. The first is while his power is great, it is not infinite. Vader, for all his power, is not on the level of Luke Skywalker and Darth Sidious. Additionally, he is not on their level by quite a wide margin, as George Lucas has publicly stated that he places Vader's power level at roughly 75% that of Palpatine's at the time of Return of the Jedi. The next reason is Vader's lack of developed Force abilities. While his telekinesis and mental manipulation are excellent, he lacks any other meaningful offensive or defensive powers. He can't wield or defend against energy-based powers with the Force, nor can he perform illusions to trick his opponents. Vader has no aptitude with Sith sorcery and has never been shown displaying any esoteric abilities found in the likes of Anya Kiro. And because Vader cannot compensate for a lack of power by having a diverse and wide array of abilities, he cannot be placed higher than a low tier 1 in terms of Force abilities. That being said, Vader is still an incredibly powerful Force wielder who can outright ragdoll a majority of the Jedi and Sith Order members. After averaging Vader's martial art and Force ability rankings, we arrive at an overall Tier 1 ranking. Darth Vader was nothing short of an overwhelming combatant, who was a serious threat to almost anyone in the Star Wars mythos. However, his shortcomings in terms of a physical weakness, a weakness to unpredictable swordsmen, and a lack of variety leave him at an overall low Tier 1 ranking, borderline Tier 1.5. I would put the capabilities of Darth Vader as roughly similar to that of baseline Mace Windu or Jaina Solo Fell at the time of Fate of the Jedi. Those three are incredibly talented combatants that instead of being content with being better than most, they uniquely develop their saber skills and Force abilities to contend with the absolute best of their era. As for those that can defeat Vader, I have already mentioned Grandmaster Luke Skywalker and Darth Sidious, but Darth Thanaton, Zana, and Exar Kun, along with Kip Duron, are all combatants I see as having the right stuff to take down Vader, provided they are offered the chance to do so. And so, this ends the first episode of Power Ranking. Thank you all for watching the first episode of this new series. I look forward to making a few more in the future. As for now, keep in mind that this is all my opinion, but feel free to leave comments, criticisms, and suggestions for future characters in the comment section down below. This is the Phoenix Exalt, signing out, and may the Force be with you, always.